I met Michelle while volunteering at UCLA Martial Arts after graduating, and I went to her amazing seminar on Kaihewalu Lua,
Kaihewalu, yeah.
Kaihewalu. And I went with my sister, and it was awesome to see a badass woman demonstrating fierceness and power, and we got to learn about traditional weapons, and it was just really cool. So, Michelle, what do you like to introduce yourself in a nutshell?
Well, thank you for having me first, and that great review. I'm glad that you enjoyed my time with all of you, because I really did. It was so nice to be on campus with everyone in an educational setting and not so much a dojo setting. It changes things because you're able to really feel like you have the time to go into history. So with that, I've been studying martial arts since I was 9 years old, and by accident, actually. But it's funny how the things that we're exposed to just kind of take a hold of us. And it was a pivotal moment there at 9 years old. I realized that martial arts wasn't a boy's activity. So with that, I continued my training. I tried different styles. I don't know, it's just took a hold of me. And so since then I've, it's funny because I wouldn't say coming into maturity, but who we are at each moment kind of dictates what we get out of that moment and how we absorb the lesson, not necessarily just martial arts, but life, and how we apply it to our life indefinitely and move forward. So today I sit before you as a teacher of the Kaihewalu Lua, and the only female in my group, and knight commander with the Royal Order of Kamehameha the First. And I enjoy using this and bringing this not only for the cultural system and perpetuating, promoting, and protecting the Hawaiian culture through the Lua, but I also very much enjoy bringing these movements of Hula and Lua to everyday people through different platforms.
Great. And what were some of the other styles that you did before this?
Oh gosh, I started in Kempo, American Kempo. And then when I was in Chicago touring the Midwest for Polynesian dance, I maintained my cardio as well as with the gym through Korean martial arts. So I thought it was a really great fitness and cardio type of exercise. And then I started my Lua training in the late 90s with my late teacher.
Aha. Cool. And where did you grow up mostly?
Southern California, mostly. Yeah.
Right. So you have Hawaiian roots then?
I do, and my father actually has Asian too, Filipino and Chinese, and also English. And then my mother is 100% Scandinavian, so a mixture. I know. And my joke is that my ancestry were all seafaring, weapon-wielding drunkards.
That's great. Love it. So, Kaihewalu?
Yes. So in ancient times, the W is the proper way is pronounced V. So we see it as Kaihewalu, but it's Kaihewalu. Yeah. So no problem if you prefer to use the W.
I mean, I can remember I did linguistics. I can try to
Yes, you did.
remember to pronouncing things where they came from. I also saw online when looking up Hawaiian martial arts, there's not much about Hawaiian martial arts, not much information sort of readily available. I think I found a couple like Black Belt magazine articles, maybe a couple YouTube things. One of them was from Hawaiian Airlines.
Yes,
so,
yes. That was recent for me, but they also did one probably about 15 or so years ago on a different lineage of Lua, which was from the Ken lineage, Charles Ken. So,
was that? I think my notes. Kapukua?
Oh, Kapukui Lua versus Kaihewalu. Is that the differential? Is that what you?
Yeah.
Okay. So Let's say there's Lua practitioners, family styles, and regular PA, which would be a group or school of Lua practitioners on every island. And
Oh,
like, yes. And so some the public know about, some they don't. And some wish to keep it secret and private within their own ohana, their family, and others tend to have an interest in sharing it with the world. So there's many different styles and rules and regulations, protocol governing each school of study. And, you know, Ken would be one and Kaihewalu would be another. So, yeah. And the kapu kui'a lua is the original empty-handed art. Obviously, it's now we just call it lua in modern times. And that encompasses many things, also the weaponry now in this day and age. So,
right. That's so cool. I didn't know it was that diverse. Right. It reminds me a little bit of what I know about certain Japanese styles and how they break up into like Shotokan and Ryu and this and that. And
well, it's kind of like religion, right? Where they all became Protestant in their own way and made their own denomination.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, like religion, languages, I guess so much of that is bound up also into culture.
Yeah, it is. And how the culture changes, you know, and society dictates a lot, even about women's roles sometimes. So, and as it's written from historians, not from the origin culture, they bring their own perspective, you know. And I think, you know, you doing your thesis right now, you can see how when you get information, it forms an opinion based on what you find, and try to stay impartial and keep your own findings out of your impartial paper can be difficult.
Yes, depending on which sort of methodologies or what philosophy thing you're going into, arguably it's not really separable. Yeah,
I found the thesis is very difficult. The dissertation is a little bit easier because you can then you can quote yourself and you can put more of your opinions into that. So it's an academic exercise that's agonizing. It's kind of like a belt test, right? Or worse. So
yeah, actually, let's skip that moment. Let's keep talking about our sort of academic stuff for a bit. So
sure.
Tell me about your academic work.
Well, it's been varied because I have a secret life. It's kind of interesting that my Lua work and cultural work is my secret life, but it's very public. And then, you know, vocationally, I've been in law, the profession of law for 24 years. It'll soon be 25 in this upcoming May, which is hard to believe. So with that, you know, I started off as being a legal secretary and a paralegal, and then I earned my law degree and eventually got into leadership and executive roles, and branched out into mediation, mostly for family and business. Agonizing again. But, you know, grateful to be able to use the principle of ho'oponopono to make things right it's a form of dispute resolution in ancient times into the actual corporate America in usage. Yes, it was very interesting. And it, you know, working in that really changed my view, you know, going in between, probably too much detail, but to give the full pictures, you know, you set a time for the mediation, everyone is agreeable, they show up at one location, and I separate the parties into different rooms. And while one will say, F this person, I'm not giving her, and he does he think that is okay? F. And so in between, like the hallway runs, right? I get to take out all of that emotion and get down to the facts. Like, she won't accept this. You know, what else? I think she might accept this. What do you think? And vice versa. And at the end of the day, we would have an agreement. Wow. You know, I think a lot of life, even our martial training, is when we get frustrated with a technique, you can see it, you know, you feel it rise up in you. And even as a teacher, you see these lightning bolts shooting out of the student. Like, why can't I get this? What is wrong? And that impedes their ability to really learn. To calm it down, to slow it down, to not expect yourself to know everything. And, you know, that's how I don't know, it's branched into, you know, teaching and also vocational. So my training, I go on to earn some business credentials at Harvard Business School, as well as George Washington University. So that's my background.
Wow. So you've done a lot of like being the mediator work, it sounds
Yeah,
like?
yeah. And it's, I can't say it's fun, but it is definitely challenging and interesting.
Mm.
Fulfilling in the sense where you see others finally come to a resolution.
Mm. I don't know, have you ever actually been in a physical altercation with somebody, or has it been like kept mostly to in class?
No, I've had 2 incidents. I mean, even more when I was younger, of course, when I had no control over myself. Um, I was, it's funny. I was trained, but I wasn't trained like I am now. And I
Mm.
was much more dangerous in the past because I didn't have control over my emotions.
Mm.
But I did, in fact, oddly, have 2 incidents in the last, since 2014 at workshops where you
At
feel safe.
workshops.
Yeah, where you feel the safest and actually anything can still happen. And so your
Mm.
guard is down. Kind of like, I guess we should prepare for anything because, there's the fight, flight, and freeze. And in those instances, you don't expect it. Kind of like, us women that experience something with possibly someone we're dating or someone that you would never think would
Right.
approach you in a certain manner, and the freeze comes over. And it takes a while for your heart to match your mind, and then the adrenaline's pumping. So yeah, I didn't expect that. And it's funny when we train and we use what we know, there's this aftermath that happens.
Mm.
I don't know if it's just with women or if it occurs with men, but I can tell you with myself and several of my students that when we do learn what we've trained in and we do use it just to nullify a situation, to de-escalate, you actually have this physiological response and psychological response of feeling badly for what you use. It's the oddest thing in the world. And I experienced that both times and had to self-counsel and talk myself through it and said, no, you had every right. You didn't hurt her and you didn't hurt him. They're 2 different instances. So yeah, it's very fascinating, the control and that little split second of you wondering if you should respond. But when your face is being crushed and when your throat is being crushed, you absolutely have to make a decision immediately.
Right.
So, yeah. How about you?
Luckily, like, knock on wood, I've never had to ever actually physically defend myself from somebody. Like when I was little, I remember being like bullied, but I kind of spoke my way through those, or just kind of went home to my abuelita. And there's part of me that's like, I feel like there's, especially in a lot of Western culture, you need to stand up for yourself. Like you're almost encouraged to fight back, to do something. And part of me is like, I should have done something. But part of me is also like, maybe I'm cool that I did. I feel kind of cool that I didn't, that I tried to talk this out with somebody and I didn't just like immediately try to kick them or something.
Well, every situation's different. And sometimes the individual, it's not worth it. And then other times, if your safety, your physical safety is being threatened, then yeah, I mean, there isn't one right way to respond. And, you hear people all the time saying, well, I would have, and you should have. And we really can't do that because we're not in each other's shoes. All we can do is care.
Right. And luckily, I've never been in a situation where I felt like I really had to, like I was in physical danger from anyone. I feel like that would be something quite different. And even in places where I felt uncomfortable, I was able to leave the area.
That's really the whole goal, is to get away safely, not duke it out, because there are no rules, no refs, no time clocks in real life.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. coming back and thinking about it, but of course, like in the classroom and like these safe spaces, I've like sparred, I've moved with people, but that's an entirely different different beast. And I also feel like it's different if you're by yourself versus when you're with a group, and I feel like that's part of the self-defense classes we tend to think about too, is if you're with someone that you feel like you need to also sort of protect, like if I'm with my sibling, I know
Right.
I'm much more on high alert as to like, who are you? What are you doing? I don't like you.
Well, we can feel it, can't we? So you kind of know something's up.
Yeah.
Especially if we train martial arts, especially
Oh,
since
we
we
disappeared.
train. Sorry about that. I put it on do not disturb and a call still came through. I don't understand this phone sometimes. No, but I think that we're more aware, you know, and I think we have to think about our training in the dojo versus real life, because it's not going to happen like it happens in the dojo. And if we're going to practice, we need to practice at the dojo. If we get hurt, we should get hurt there in learning things versus learning it on the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like it's good. I know it was part of my training. It was also part of your training to be put into these, of course, it's nothing inside is the same as outside, but in these mock scenarios where you do want to be stressed and having people coming at you or pinned to the ground or shutting off in some of the worst positions that you could possibly be in.
Been there.
Yeah, you're just like sprawled out and have just like over 200-pound guy just all wrapped up, and he's like, "Okay, get up," and I'm like, ugh. Try to get up.
The best part is when that happens and you get thrown or taken down and they're hovering over you and the beads of sweat are just dripping. That's the best ever.
For me, I always tend to be like right in someone's armpit as I'm trying to escape.
Great.
I'm just like, oh yes, I have been baptized.
Literally.
Let me see. Jumping back on one of the questions, back to Kaihewalu Lua.
Yes, Kaihewalu, yeah.
Kaihewalu Lua. How is your interpretation of the art different?
I think, you know, it was about 7 years ago where I was asked to do, contribute to a research paper for UH, University of Hawaii, Hilo. And it forced me to sit down and actually write out the Lua and the Hula to see the comparative movements. I think it's different for me because from my male counterparts, because and I can't speak on their experience but we both have masculine and feminine within us. It's both, it's in the art. For me, I think it's being able to see the fluidity turned into targeted releases of power, and how the hula allows us to master our footwork and timing, so that when we do move it from the non-contact to the full contact, that we're able to adjust in micro movements in our lower body, as well as position the woman and the kids and the grandkids to throw out the weaponry and come back and guard the mother. So it has been really interesting for me. I always loved my hula, but not like I do now. It has really transformed my ability to be an effective warrior and show them the flow of the potential coiled energy of the feminine in a setup to the masculine release of that power. So that is how it is for me. And it's made me love my Lua even more, and how they're so intimately intertwined. I can't separate the two anymore. And that's why sometimes I've been told my hula looks masculine, and possibly so. I've also been told that my hula, you can see the, how would you say, the punctuation, the exclamation marks and the commas and the periods. And, you know, at first I felt a little insulted, but now I realize what a huge compliment that is. Yeah.
I think that's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, thinking back to something my sensei told me is that, especially about my style of martial arts, Combat Art, it has a history. It's an old mixed martial arts, with a history of ingraining lots of different styles into it. And
Beautiful.
one of the messages my sensei got from, I think it came down from his sensei as well, was the idea that if something stays the same, then it's not alive anymore. That if something stays the same, then it's dead, and that if as it continues to grow, it changes and it adapts. And that's kind of how I see style of martial arts. Some would say that some purists would say, "Oh, that's ridiculous," and it's not the same thing anymore. But I suppose I'd be in that controversial camp of let it change.
Well, I know as we look back at history and we see our ancestors evolved,
Mm-hmm.
then we must evolve too. But
Mm-hmm.
remembering what the foundation is and
Oh, yeah.
speaking to that regularly to keep it alive, keep it engaged, to provide understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And but here we are. And I believe that my ancestors would have used Zoom to continue to teach during COVID. I believe my ancestors would have transcribed into writing all of the cultural practices that were only passed down orally. So these are some of the changes that we're making to preserve the information and properly archive it.
Right.
Because that we in my opinion, I'm very mixed. And my daughter has Samoan and German, and then my grandsons have Black and more English. And it's like we keep breeding, and eventually, while there are very, many full-blooded, well, not many full-blooded, but primarily Hawaiian natives back home, most of us were around others, and we'll procreate. And do we continue? The question becomes, as teachers, do we continue to pass that information on to our blood, even though some don't look Hawaiian at all? Like one of my nieces, she is a completely fair version of me who just turned 20 yesterday. Her features are identical. Her eyes are blue. Her hair is blonde, and she looks identical to me. And
wow.
So and her father was English. So it's very fascinating, to see the mixtures and the beauty of the mixtures and the diversity and the strength of the genes, frankly. It's pretty remarkable. There's this term I one of my Navy SEAL friends revealed to me back in the early 2000s, and it was an agricultural term of hybrid vigor. And it means to become more than the parents when they start making hybrids of certain things and perfecting that. And that's what I feel like our breeding has become, I mean, very diverse and stronger, and hopefully adhering to, and respecting and revering what was and who was before them. And I hope that I'm raising my grandsons with, that way of looking at life.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Beautiful analogy. I think so. I think so too, and I hope so. And the roots are still there. It's just a matter of how they're growing.
Yeah, and how we continually connect with those roots. Yeah.
And slightly linked to a topic earlier, moments you can think of when you found strength from the feminine, from being a woman. I know you mentioned how you saw a lot of that from when you did Lua, or do Lua in combination. I mean, sorry, Hula in combination. Hula in combination with Lua.
I think it's just been a journey. I've always been I've definitely been a tomboy. I definitely appreciated my friends who surfed and skateboarded and played and wrestled and climbed trees, football, all of that. They were all guys growing up. I had a hard time really embracing the lace trimmed socks and the different color ribbons in the hair and the fancy dresses. And today it's ironic because I love my gowns, right? I love my heels, but I also still love very much getting dirty, getting down. I love the full contact. I love to know where my limitations are. I love to know what my release of power is, 20%, 40, 75.
Right.
I love that. And I think as I continue down this path, I have so many amazing female friends now, more than men. I understand it's not a competition, contrary to how society likes to pin us against one another, the Instagram world. I love being a woman. I love everything about it. I love the intuition. I love knowing things before they happen, even though I can't place it in the tangible. I can feel it in the intangible, and then it starts to be revealed as I ask for more to be revealed. I love connecting with my friends and my students and other women in the world, and their experiences, because we all have our story, and which it's shaped us, and some of it is not healthy, some of it we need to let go, some of us struggle with the processing aspect of that and being able to release. Some of us release some of that sooner than others, but it's all in divine timing. It's all trusting in who we are at this moment and what serves us properly now. What protect us in the past in these mental constructs may not serve us now. And I think that's part of being a woman in the incubation period and the birthing period, the nurturing, the destroying, and then the putting to death of something. This is what we do, whether it's goal or a relationship. Aspects of ourself, shadow aspects, will teach us a lot about what we fear and how we avoid those things and the resistance that comes up. This is all a part of being an amazing woman during this time in our world. You said that we're encouraged earlier to fight back, but that wasn't always the case. And so we're very blessed right now energetically to be able to feel like we can even do that. And just because we can, do we? Is it the wisest thing? So using our wisdom. So yeah, I use the feminine. I mean, I can't be separated. It flows through my blood. It's in every breath, as well as the masculine too, and to honor that side as well, the action energy. So yeah, I just so grateful to be here as a woman and to exemplify the power of a woman in my little corner of the world and what I've been trusted with.